Have you ever been mid-conversation and suddenly have no idea what to say? Like your brain just hit a blue screen? Yeah, me too. And so have thousands of other people, which is why there are so many videos on this exact topic. But somehow none of them actually work. They give you tricks, abbreviations, cues, but none of them fix the real problem. And I know, because I tried all of them. Some were fairly useful, but they didn't change how I felt in conversations. I was still socially anxious, overthinking and desperately trying to fill every awkward silence. Until I figured out something that changed all of that. And it wasn't a trick or technique, it was something way simpler. But first, I had to realize something important. If you're struggling to find something to say, the issue isn't words. It's your focus. You're focusing on yourself, overthinking what to say, stressing about not being awkward. All of this misdirected focus is putting yourself in a state of light fear, a state where things are forced and aren't able to flow, and a state that is all about you. Meanwhile, there's this human in front of you with their own stories, quirks and lessons. You have an opportunity to really listen, to really connect. But instead you're trying, forcing and acting. Ever notice how your brain suddenly becomes a genius 5 minutes after the conversation is over? That's not a coincidence. That's because you're treating conversations like a test instead of an experience. Think about it. Why do we freeze up in conversations? It's not because we don't have things to say. It's because we're afraid. Afraid of saying something weird, afraid of awkward silence, afraid of not living up to your own standards. But fear isn't the enemy. It's a reminder. Let it be a signal to come back to the present. Let it be a signal that you're thinking thoughts that are not reality. When you feel it, thank it. Ah, I'm feeling fearful. Thanks. I know these thoughts aren't true and now I can come back to the present. Ever notice how the best conversations aren't just about words? It's the pauses, the eye contact, the way energy shifts. Conversations aren't just about talking, they're an exchange of energy. And silence? It isn't empty and it isn't bad. It creates space, and it's silent for both of you. It's not your job to fill it, and it doesn't have to be this "who wants to be a millionaire" level of pressure every time it occurs. Silence can be pretty great, and if you're uncomfortable with it, good! Then I dare you to intentionally let a conversation go silent. I'm sure you'll notice it doesn't actually matter, and after a while a topic might even come up that brings the conversation in a totally new direction, effortlessly. However, I want you to understand this. You have endless things to say. If you stop filtering yourself, you're rejecting way too many thoughts and overthinking whether they're good enough, funny enough, or whether it isn't too weird. Now, this is likely a habit you formed over years and years, so it won't just quickly disappear. And I'm not saying you can just say anything to anyone. But there definitely doesn't have to be as big of a filter as you think. Actually, I've always appreciated an out-of-pocket question that caught me by surprise, and I'm glad these moments weren't rejected by a filter. An exercise you could do to relearn your brain to flow naturally is to pick any object around you and talk about it non-stop for a minute. Finally, there's one thing I'd really like you to remember. There is nothing in any of these videos that you are missing. No magic technique that will suddenly fix your issues. No formula that finally puts everything into place. Everything you could ever need is already within you. When you trust that being present is enough. When you make fear your friend. When you stop trying to force anything. Words will flow, conversations will be easy, and connections will be deeper. Now, if you want a deeper connection with me, consider subscribing. Thanks!